Cubelic in the morning. We have something fun for you here a little bit later in the show on going back to Alabama's run game and some of the problems with it and what's going on with it and why is it not good. Can't allow you to say that a jet sweep not working is why Alabama's run game is not good. We talked about it on Read and React last night. Roman wanted to get into it. He didn't understand it. We showed some of the technical flaws of how and why Alabama's run game is not really happening. I will say this. I think they are running into some crowded looks occasionally. And that's really to no one's fault because I do think at times, because of everything else this offense does and does well, it's okay to be stubborn with that, to just show people that it's there. And you have a little bit of a crowded box and say, hey, this might not go, but we need people to understand we are at least going to try this. Make them respect other things. There were a couple of times where the quarterback's read was something other than what would have been most beneficial. So, for example, your traditional zone read that you run where Ty Simpson puts the ball in the belly of the running back. So on one occasion where Patrick Payton flows right down the line of scrimmage and essentially helps make that play from the backside, Ty Simpson's fake that he carries out on that is not of the zone read. It's a fake screen to the outside. Well, if his read there, and he may have been reading the bubble out on the outside on the screen and handed it off because that was covered. If his read is to keep the football there, it's an 8 or a 9 yard gain. No problem whatsoever. That's like with a slide, not even attempting to maybe go further than that. So timing sometimes can have a little bit to do with it as well. I think the offensive line steps have not necessarily been what they need to be, hat placement at times. And that's the thing about the run game, man, is it only takes one individual on any occasion to slow it down. Now, when I said earlier, it's not one person's fault that we're not running the ball, that was more collectively. But you can have a tackle not cut off the backside, and all of a sudden that's a 1 yard or no yard gain when it could have been 20. Also, running backs have a lot more to do with this than you think. The specific play that we showed on Read and React last night, Hill has the opportunity to follow the track or path of where the run is designed to go. And even though that defensive lineman is not 3 yards off the ball, there is flow where he could continue, and good hat placement, by the way, where if he rides the left guard on that inside zone play and the center's climbing up to the linebacker and was going to get there, did get there actually, but didn't matter on this particular play. I mean, that thing could go for a big gain, but it's immediate cutback right into backside defensive end playing that. And that's collectively where I think you got to get everybody on the same page. So if the running back is aware that the quarterback's read, and this is a lot of the problem with today's college football, is tunnel vision. And I'm not pointing a finger at Daniel Hill. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't know what he's doing, but it's collective in college football now of situational football, knowing all of it, knowing the entire play. Listen, I was guilty of it early in my career at Auburn. I never looked at a safety my first 2 years. I never looked at a corner my first 2 years. Then I started understanding that those guys are going to dictate a lot more of what's happening up front. You work your way into that. But if he has a full understanding that, okay, my quarterback's fake that he might carry out here if I get this football is throwing a screen out on the hash. What does that tell me? Defensive end that's not going to be blocked, that we're hoping staying home. Also, you're probably doing this because of the way LSU played it earlier in the game. Now, LSU's pretty aggressive. So you're playing with fire if you think that they're going to sit at home. But they did do it a couple times. They have some – Blake Baker will ask them to play some gray area there, and they'll kind of be a little in-betweenish. But if that's the way they were playing it, then you think to yourself, well, he's not coming down here making that play. But then even more so, if you know that the fake is not going to hold him because of the screen that's going to be thrown, and there's a better chance that end's going to be coming flat, you have to ride front side with that play. Unless there's just immediate penetration. You have to go front side with that. And he didn't. I think teams are playing aggressive in some of the gap scheme stuff that they're running, where on pullers, they're just running upfield. Like go watch how Jack Pyburn played pullers in this game. He gets the nickname Ram Man for a reason. He turns and runs right at it, which is not fundamentally sound all the time. But if you know that this group's not great at bouncing plays at the right time or seeing things the way they need to, if disruption caused more problems for a team than others, you're going to play it more aggressively. You're going to play north-south. You're going to attack pullers because you understand that even though this isn't ultimately sound with how all of my defense wants to fit this run, they're probably not going to react in a way that's going to make us pay. Now, like you do that stuff to Ahmad Hardy, he make you pay. You be in trouble. You do it to Jaden Baugh, he's going to make you pay. These running backs for Alabama haven't figured that out just yet. And it doesn't mean they're not good players. It doesn't mean they're not explosive. It doesn't mean they can't get yards. It's just collectively, holistically, it hadn't all come together yet. And part of that is they have not decided to live that life. Give me the game this year in which you felt like Alabama went into the game and said, by God, here it comes. Do something about it. We're about to put our hand in the date. Because I think the only one that was even remotely close to that would have been Wisconsin. Missouri had some feel of it at times, but here are the rush attempts. 29-36, 22-38, 38-44, 32, 23-26. In the middle of the pack right there sounds like that's where it was. 38 against Georgia, but you went for 117. 38 against Vandy, you went for 146. 44 against Missouri, but you went for 125. Some of those were just game flow, I think, of, hey, we're on life support. Like this whole game is on life support. Don't risk getting up and pulling the ventilator out or popping one of the electrodes off, whatever you need at that point. Don't risk that. Can't do that. And this is not an indictment on Ryan Grubb or Kalen DeBoer or the Alabama offense. You live in the neighborhood that's best suited for you. Like you live your life. As a football team, as an offense, as a defense, as a special teams, like you don't try to live somebody else's life. I mean, we were actually offered up that Alabama should employ air raid tendencies earlier in the show. I would actually suggest against that. How many teams have we seen midway, 3 quarters through the season say, you know what, we're going to implement another system? Now, a play or two? Absolutely. Absolutely. I can tell you about 1997 when we went to Georgia and we were an isolation run team, which is like I formation, which, by the way, Alabama did run a play out of multiple plays out of I formation last week. Cuevas at fullback. Ty Simpson under center, which one of his better throws, I tweeted it out, was from under center. And that's part of why I don't think this is as big of a deal. Ty Simpson, under center, shotgun, pistol, turn back to the defense, play action, bludgeon middle of field, backs out of the backfield, multiple formations. I mean, they're going gun pro. They're going I formation. Like this offense has so much that it can unlock on you. I don't think it has to be reliant on one part and one piece. And this has been Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb forever. Go to Washington in the playoff run with Mike Penix. They appeared like they were an air raid team early on. What won them their way into the playoff late? Dylan Johnson, Mississippi State transfer running back. An absolute hammer. And as that offensive line grew and Dylan Johnson got more comfortable, they end up winning the Joe Moore Award, and he ends up pounding teams into submission late in the year. That was 2023. Dylan Johnson by game. He had 12, 71, 66, 91, 100, 6, 84. And then I think they started kind of saying, hey, this maybe could go. 250 against USC, 256. Now it's still a USC defense. So it's kind of like that could have just been by accident. When you get guys who like to make decisions of not to tackle, sometimes you get yards. 104, 89, 180 or 82, and then that 152 against Oregon. So second half of the season, there were multiple times in which they said, hey, let's let it go. But they only went over 20 carries 5 times that season. And those were all later in the year. They didn't go over 20 carries until November the 4th. This has been these guys. They will figure things out as the season progresses, and then they will lean into them when it is most beneficial to them. And how many games has Alabama lost again? 1? Was the lack of a rushing attack the reason they lost that game? Lack of not stopping the run was the reason they lost that game. But even that part of the team is coming along. You think where Kane Womack has come defensively and how different this defense is from when maybe any point last year or early this year. I saw Kane Womack drop 8 over 20 times in this game against LSU. They haven't lived that life all year. It's not who they've been. Show some versatility. You know what else they did more of than they've done all season? And I know this for a fact. I won't tell you how, but I do. They moved more up front defensively in this game than they did any other game this year. So that's 2 things that they have done. 1, maybe more times than he's ever been there, and 2, this year. So the defense is the same way, continuing to grow, implementing things at different times that are going to be most beneficial to the team. I just don't look at this and say the inability to run the ball, which I actually don't even like saying that. But the inability, first off, here's one. Why have we not brought this to the table in this discussion? Is LSU's defense good? Does LSU have players who will be drafted that play in their front 7? The answer to both is yes. There are a lot of teams that would like to have Patrick Payburn and Jack Pyburn. And Jacobian Guillory is playing great football this year. Emmett Gooden's playing really good football this year. So I don't know why LSU doesn't get any credit. The defense has been good. Now, they've been put in some bad spots. Bernard Gooden, not Emmett Gooden. I think Emmett Gooden was the last chance you guy.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's not Dwight Gooden. I know that.
No, yeah, that's clear, yeah.
So I think LSU deserves a little credit here. They got some dudes up front. They can play. Harold Perkins is part of that front 7. Not great in coverage, but did make some things happen, forced a fumble. I'll be more concerned with pass protection and figuring out who's supposed to block who. And then when you need your running backs to block, make sure consistently they're doing it. Because that's what caused the turnover, not running the ball. I don't look at some of these games and say the reason it was close or the reason they didn't blow them out was because they couldn't run the ball. There are other things that can also be cleaned up. But for some reason, this is the one thing that everybody wants to point to and say is the ultimate flaw for this football team. Is it just that we have to find something? Is that it? Do we have to find something about every team in every game? Should that maybe be our point here, John? Our reference point is that we just got to complain about something? Is this a top 5 team that has 1 loss and hasn't won since the opener, and the head coach has never lost a game at home coaching that team? Say that one more time. Guys, your head coach has not lost a game in that stadium. Y'all wanted to fire him a couple weeks ago. Don't act like you didn't. We got recordings. Don't even need receipts. We got audio. Is that it? We just have to be mad about something.
Welcome to society now, man. I believe, as Josh Pate said earlier, in the year 2025.
In the year 2000. This is how bad it is. We still got penalty vultures out there. Christopher Markham. By the way, if you ever want to make Georgia fans mad, I can help you. I can give you one item that will infuriate 75% of that fan base. And it's really easy. Compliment Mike Bobo. Just say a good thing about him. Just say you like him. Just say that you like his team-issued gear that he wears on Saturday. And a full volcano of insults are coming your way.
You know his name is easy to spell. How dare you?
No. Fire him. Still terrible. So I went out on a limb Sunday, offered up some compliments of him. To which Christopher Markham responds, not enough people talking about how Georgia gets every call in every game and every 50-50 review goes their direction. A lot easier to win when the Zebras are on your side. There is not an extent on this earth that my brain can comprehend that people actually consume football that way. I almost want to be with them for a game, to just witness it. Like this is like seeing, this is like Bigfoot for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people exist. They're out there that watch a game, and what they take from seeing game are referee calls. Like there are people who watch football on television or in person, and the biggest takeaway is officiating. How can that be? If we ever come up with one of those Black Mirror episodes where like I can put glasses on and it's your brain and your vision that I'm seeing, I need that technology for that. I want to know what you watch. Like when the ball is snapped, do you watch the official? Like, do you watch the middle judge backpedaling? Are you hoping that the all 22 on TV stays extra wide so you can see the side judge over there and like his mechanics and what he's doing? And by the way, if you're going to judge and criticize officiating, do it correctly. Start figuring out what their mechanics are supposed to be. Look at his eyes. They're in the wrong place.
Watch film like Chris did.
Go. Okay.
Well, he said he did.
Okay. I didn't say anything. We're just not going to talk about jet sweeps to find a run game.
I didn't say that. Just point out you could watch film.
I find it wild that these people are real. These penalty vultures are actually in the wild. If you are with one of these individuals, I need video of it this weekend, and I need you to tweet it to Mac and Q. Honestly, what do you watch in the game? Do you watch the officials? I don't know. I don't. I've never been around somebody like this, that every call they assume goes one direction, and so therefore what you're watching during an entire game is officiating. And by the way, these people that know all these right and wrong, do they know the rules? Because I'm going to be honest with you, there's some of the rules I'm even a little unsure on at times with how things go one way or the other. Occasionally, when you get into some of that little, like, hold on, that's supposed to go like that? Oh, okay.
Whoops, yeah.
But apparently this guy's read the rule book. He knows it verbatim. Dr. Mel wants to chime in on the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in, Mel.
Hey, good morning, Cole. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right. Well, happy Veterans Day to you guys. I had called yesterday and had to leave, wasn't able to stay on, but I have a question, and I guess a lot of people would probably have interest, and I be the first to admit that I've always been curious about the logistics of how a team gets all of the players' equipment to a destination, and I'm sure you played on the road a number of times, and Greg. And then the second part to that question is, have you ever played on the road and you were missing some of the equipment that you needed that you would normally have when you played at home? So I two-part, just really interested in, as I stated, the logistics. Is the equipment, all the players, gear shipped out on Tuesday or Wednesday? Is there a checklist? And if you can just expound on this, I'd really appreciate it. I'm sure the audience would also.
Well, I appreciate that, Dr. Mel. We'll try to hit that a little bit later in the show. We got Chris Plank coming up on the other side. We'll come back to that. Plank's going to have to hold on for just a second, though. Stan Brown has replied to this. Cole, I know multiple Vanderbilt coaches over the last half century who wholeheartedly believed, and with a massive pile of receipts, that they had to play 2 touchdowns better to win an SEC game against a ranked opponent or one with ball hopes, home or away, because of the referees. I coached at an SEC Blue Blood. I agree with them. Over the years, it seems Alabama has been the biggest beneficiary of an inordinate number of favorable spots, penalty calls, and non-penalty calls in all SEC games. Has Alabama not led the league in penalties multiple times, like the last 5 years?
Especially under DeBoer, too. They've been kind of penalty prone.
Is that a receipt or no? I mean, it's factual information.
Maybe it's the digital one. Most people have the actual CVS one.
First thought on this is a response. I'm not talking about this Vanderbilt team right now. I'm not talking about Clark Lee's Vanderbilt. Let's take that one out. So we're going to go like almost a half century, like 3/4 of a half century. I don't even know how that math equates, but we're going to pretend like it does for this practice. Who wholeheartedly believed with the massive power receipts they had to play 2 touchdowns better to win an SEC game against a ranked opponent or one with bowl hopes. Let me correct that for you. You're right in the fact that those coaches thought they had to play 2 touchdowns better, but that was because of the talent differential. Crazy theory. I get it. One that not many people will buy into. And I know the tinfoil hat accusators are coming at me right now. But maybe it was the talent gap that you felt like you had to play 2 touchdowns better than all those other teams for the last 48 years. Chris Plank joins us next on Jogs. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Get to Chris Plank talk Oklahoma, Alabama here in just a moment. Before we do that, I'll tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you are lacking sleep, lacking energy, feeling on edge, need to lose weight, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. A lot of ways that they can do it. and they make it easy for you to just find out what they can do. Let's go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. Find out where all their locations are. Now open in Trustville. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You're going to get the free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test. They'll check all your vitals. They'll let you know where you are, baseline health, and then they'll say, these are the options we have for you. Peptides, weight loss programs, testosterone replacement. They want to help you feel better and be better. Minimal upfront costs from the programs they offer. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today and sign up for that free consultation. Quickly before, you can let Chris Plank in now. He can talk to us about this. Chris, we're discussing penalty vultures on the show today, and just my brain cannot fathom how people watch football and all they see are penalties or not a penalty called. We had a guy who tweeted in and said that he knows multiple Vanderbilt coaches and that they have felt like they've had to play 2 touchdowns better than their opponent for the last 50 years because of unfair treatment by the officials, I guess. To which I responded, I feel like that was actually the talent differential in which Vanderbilt had to play 2 touchdowns better. But then upon further investigation, in 2020, in 2022, and in 2023, do you want to take a guess who had the least amount of penalties called on them in the SEC?
I'm guessing because of this research, it's got to be Vanderbilt, right?
It was Vanderbilt. So in 3 of the last 5 years, Vanderbilt has had the fewest penalties called on them than any other SEC team. Therefore, argument debunked.
Hey, it's cool because if you really want to get in the weeds, I'm not that kind of guy. I think, you might have a game where it gets a little one-sided on penalties, but my brain cannot go to a place where an officiating crew goes into it and says, all right, guys, we're going to screw the road team on 3, ready, 1, 2, 3, break, or this guy was mean to me, so we're going to call extra foul. I can't allow myself to go there. But at some point, it's always kind of interesting to dig into the lack of holding calls that are made on Oklahoma, on the opponents of Oklahoma. Like defensively, Oklahoma has only had like 1 call against them per game with that pass rush and with that, interior of their front. It's kind of wild, the lack of holding calls against their opposition. So I come to you as someone that is on your team, and I agree with you. But Oklahoma fans are pretty hell-bent that even going back to the Big 12 days, the offense of the opposing team gets an edge because holding is never called against them. So I live this, the penalty vulture world. I know exactly what you're talking about.
We were talking Oklahoma and Texas a little bit earlier as sort of playoff teams, contenders. Obviously, Oklahoma has to win out if they're going to get in. I think most people would believe that. And Texas has to get pretty close to winning out. I don't, not to eliminate them from SEC championship play, but they could go win that and still get in. But if you were to take those 2 teams and say, we don't know what the path is, because I do think the path actually would be very decisive for teams like Texas, like Oklahoma, like Ole Miss, if I wanted to say they could go win a national title. But just those 2 teams, unknown what the path is. Who would you like more to go win a national championship this year if they were to get into the playoffs, and why?
Okay, and what's my options here?
Just Texas and Oklahoma. That's it.
Okay. Obviously, as a complete and total homer, I would say I would love to see Oklahoma. I think both paths are wildly challenging. And what's crazy is if you were to go back to the start of the season, I think we would have been here and said, no doubt about it, Oklahoma's path is more difficult. LSU's a national championship contender, Eli and Scott Bo Prabula. But now all of a sudden, Oklahoma, if they can find a way to beat Alabama, which again is a monumental task. And I don't think, I think with Oklahoma's struggles they've had with quarterbacks that can create, Trinidad Chambliss, obviously seeing what Arch Manning was able to do. Ty Simpson, to me, is a whole other world with how he's executing in that Alabama offense. Suddenly, the Oklahoma path looks a little bit more doable than you could have ever thought in the preseason, right? Bula's hurt. We saw what Missouri looked like against A&M this past weekend. LSU, you kind of felt like maybe you got their Hail Mary and how they played against Alabama. Does the bottom start to fall out now with guys who start thinking about where they're going to be next year? So, it's kind of wild to think about it, how you looked at Alabama, Missouri and LSU, and you thought, dude, murderer's row. Now all of a sudden, those final two, you think, okay, it's doable. Meanwhile, for Texas, you got Georgia, and then you got to deal with A&M. So I think that path for Texas is a little bit tougher. I think they might end up with 4 losses this year. But really, it's kind of wild, is it not, to see how, while still challenging, that path looks a little bit clearer for Oklahoma. And you consider that both of those games coming up in LSU and Missouri are at home too. So, I mean, homeristically, I'd like to see Oklahoma do it. I think that their path is now become a little bit more doable than Texas's path is. And Cole, I know you've studied this. Don't even get into trying to explain to me what the process looks like for who's going to be in the SEC title game, because I think it's about as convoluted as we've ever had it this late in the season.
Chris Plank joining us. He's sideline reporter for Oklahoma football games. And I wanted to go too, just like if those teams were to get in the playoff. And like that's kind of where I was focusing just a little bit further. And I think when you look at what Oklahoma has as strengths, even though they might not have as many strengths, I think their big strengths are stronger than any strong strength that Texas has. That was a really confusing way of saying that, so hopefully you can stay on board with me. But when I look at quarterback that can take over a game the way John Mateer can, and I look at a front seven that can take over a game the way that Oklahoma's can, I would take my chances on Oklahoma more so than Texas in a playoff setting. And now that doesn't mean that I think overall I think Oklahoma's a better team. Those facets, I think, potentially offer up more than anything Texas has. Where would you be from that standpoint?
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry I misconstrued the question, but yeah, I would agree. Here's the other thing that's happening for Oklahoma over the last few weeks. And I know this because I follow Cole on Twitter, and he gives the greatest updates you can possibly get every single Sunday on every single team in the SEC. So you've seen this. Oklahoma is starting to find something in their running game. Now, you can debate what's led to that. Is it John Mateer being healthier? With what was the thumb issue, but also now he had what appeared to be a knee injury that he was battling through from maybe the Temple game on. Is it a matter of finally getting your 5 on the offensive line? Now they've moved in Ryan Foje, who came in as a true freshman as a tackle, and they're like, we're going to make you a guard. That's where your future is. But Derek Simmons, the transfer from Western Carolina, gets hurt. You had a couple of different guys who tried at right tackle, and it just wasn't working. Logan Howland was hurt. So you're like, let's put the freshman out there. And Ryan Foje's been at right tackle. Eddie Pierre-Louis, redshirt freshman, has moved in at right guard. Michael Fasusi was the opening day starter as a true freshman at left tackle. Has it been a matter of just getting those 5 on the field with Jake Michael at center and Sabechi Weewood guard? Or is it a matter of, hey, we finally found a back we're just going to feed, and Xavier Robinson. We finally got a guy here that he's healthy, just feed him, and whether it's through adversity and an injury to Javonte Barnes and ineffectiveness of Jay Knott, whatever it might be, those are 3 things that you can look at and pick either one of them. And suddenly Oklahoma's able to do the thing that they haven't been able to consistently do in their loss to Texas, in a couple disappointing performances, right? They weren't able to run the football. So that's another thing that's really impressive, I think, with what you've seen from Oklahoma over the past few weeks. We'll see about the R. Mason Thomas injury. That's a big deal. But I think they feel they don't want to miss a game. They don't want R. Mason to miss a game. But I think in what you've seen in some of those edge guys, they're starting to play a little bit better and get a little bit more experience. So, yeah, I'd be with you on that one.
Chris Plank does sideline for Oklahoma football radio broadcast, joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. When you look at that Oklahoma football team, you just mentioned R. Mason Thomas. They've battled injuries all season up front on the offensive line again earlier this year. Obviously, Mateer for a few moments there in the middle of the season. How healthy outside of R. Mason Thomas are they heading into this matchup with Bama?
Well, there's going to be, 2 names, 3, I guess, on the injury report that everyone's going to have a close eye on. One of them is R. Mason Thomas. The other is Kobe McKenzie. And then the third, I guess, would be Keontez Lewis. Now, after the game against Tennessee, I think there was a couple of offensive linemen who looked a little hobbled, but I don't know if they'll show up on the availability report on Wednesday night or not. But just taking those 3, Lewis, got a concussion against Temple, then got hit again. I believe it was in the Texas game where he suffered a concussion. So Keontez Lewis is a guy that has shown flashes at the receiver position. So he's a pretty big need. But you're talking about the general of your defense and Kobe McKenzie. and your NFL prospect edge rusher and R. Mason Thomas. So last night, this year, Cole, I've slid in and I've done the coach's show with Coach Venables, and I wouldn't say it was the most overly optimistic response from Coach, but he's also been very, I guess the term would be coy about the availability and the injuries because, last year, Oklahoma fans kept waiting for one of these receivers to get back, and every week it'd be, oh, he's going to be back. This is a good week, and then they wouldn't play. So I think Coach has been a little bit more hesitant to really give too much information on the injury front. But I'll give you that always reliable and very non-committal phrase of "we'll see" when it comes to the two most important guys in that mix, in McKenzie and R. Mason. Now, for Oklahoma, Kobe McKenzie didn't even take a snap in the Tennessee game, and Owen Heineke went out and had 13 tackles, 12 in the first half. R. Mason Thomas was gone after the second series, and they were able to consistently do a good job of getting pressure. So we'll see how that supporting staff steps up, but it's a big question mark for all those guys involved.
All right, so when you look at the matchup and what this one's going to be this weekend, we said it earlier in the show. It's massive beyond the discussion points that I think have been laid out so far this week and maybe the weeks coming up to it. What has to happen for Oklahoma to get this win in Tuscaloosa?
Cole, there's a lot of optimism amongst Sooner Nation right now. So I'll give you the things that Coach Venables brought up last night. I think it's a tough task. Ty Simpson, again, I'm a Heisman voter, and I think he's got my vote right now as the Heisman Trophy winner, especially when you consider how things went from week one to where it is now. But Oklahoma has got to minimize mistakes. They made enough mistakes in that Tennessee game to where it was just they should have lost, right? But thankfully, they were able to force a few more mistakes from Tennessee. That RPO interception late in the game is inexcusable and unforgivable, but Oklahoma was able to survive. So they've got to minimize mistakes. Number two, Alabama has not had a good, consistent running game this year. Don't be the team that it gets going against, right? Don't make them one-dimensional. If you're going to lose this game, then make it, be Ty Simpson going over the top on you. And I think as long as Alabama's running game doesn't get going, you got to hold them in check. And then, I guess the third key is just don't let the environment get the best of you. That's going to be raucous atmosphere. Bama fans are fired up with where this team is and what the potential can be. Oklahoma's got to control the environment. So run the football, stop the run, and minimize turnovers. That's going to be their best chance this week. And what I think is a monumental and Herculean task to try to beat a team that might be playing better than anyone else in the country right now in Alabama.
No, I would agree. The offensive line feels like it's kind of coming along a little bit. Now, I'm not – this isn't the 17 Oklahoma offensive line or anything. They're not knocking guys 4 yards off the football, but getting a hat on a hat, understanding some angles, maybe stressing just a little bit more, a little extra strain than we saw early in the season. What are you seeing about how that group has progressed the last couple of weeks?
They're getting a little streak. They're getting a little, and I don't mean like putting together. I mean like there's a little nasty streak in them, Cole, and it's a bunch of young guys. I mentioned it earlier. Ryan Foje is a guy who came in as a ballyhooed recruit, and they moved him to guard. Like, you're going to be a guard. That's where your ceiling is. Might be where his highest ceiling still is, but he had been a tackle. So when Derek Simmons, who had came in from Western Carolina, got hurt, Logan Howland, who had been a good swing tackle for him, got hurt, and their starting left tackle last year, they were really in a desperate spot. And the Beklinko kid they brought in from Stanford is, he's pretty good, but they need, I think, Stanford or Florida State, because they brought in Michael, and one of us from Stanford and one of us from Florida State, and I always screwed up. But it's a guy that's like a good third tackle on any team, but you needed to be better if you're going to play with Tennessee and Alabama and LSU. So they thought, all right, let's give the kid a chance. And so Ryan Foje started to right tackle. So you got two true freshmen, true freshman left tackle, true freshman right tackle. You added Eddie Pierre-Louis, the right guard, to go with the experience at center and Jake Michaela and the experience at left guard of Fabechi Wiwu. And it's been a really good mix. Now, they still have a lot of technique things to work on, Cole. Nobody could identify that more than you. But they're bringing a little bit of a nasty streak. And a couple weeks ago, I think it was our buddy Gabe Eicher that said, I'd like to see our offensive line have a little bit of that nasty like the defensive line has. You see the defensive tackles are headbutting and high-fiving each other, and they're making plays and pushing into the backfield. you're starting to see that streak, that attitude a little bit from this offensive line, and it's incredibly exciting for the future of Oklahoma. Now, can these guys continue to minimize the mistakes to where, there's not the pre-snap penalties, there's not guys not on the line of scrimmage, there's not a holding call that brings back a run. That's the big challenge going forward. But I think the future, in this retention world is incredibly bright on the offensive line, but these guys still have a lot to learn, and it's kind of fun to see them gel together, Cole, as this season has progressed and as they've all been given this opportunity late in the season.
Absolutely. All right, Chris Plank, we appreciate the time. Always good catching up with you, man. Thanks for giving us some insight into this Oklahoma-Alabama matchup this weekend. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, I can't wait, Cole. You have a great rest of your program, and always appreciate getting a chance to talk to you and your great listeners, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate you. Chris Plank joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking OU Alabama. Massive game coming up in the SEC this weekend. There are others. But another topic that we wanted to discuss was the Alabama run game, kind of where it is. We've mentioned it a little bit in the show. We may have a solution that will help you better understand this on the other side. Don't get caught in the cold, though. Schedule your system checkup now from a Train Comfort Specialist. Train has been recognized 11 consecutive years as America's most trusted HVAC brand and our exclusive home comfort partners here at Jocks. Visit Train.com to find a comfort specialist near you. All right, when we come back, we'll try to help you better understand some of the Alabama rushing attack woes. Next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, so we're going to talk about Alabama's rushing attack. We also have a bad box score of the day for you. Actually, we have a few. We might not dive into many, but we have a couple that we need to discuss. I want to go back before we go to break on this Brian Kelly situation. Mystery coach has chimed back in, and not very happy with me right now. My response was Vandy has the fewest penalties in the SEC 3 last 5 years. Apparently, that does not matter. The response was, Cole, stop, just stop. Let's try thinking and logic this time. Are statistics, factual information not logical? Does that count? I felt like it did. Go back and read what I wrote. Get someone to help you with comprehension if you struggle. Note, a half century is 50 years. I don't even know Clark Lee. Hello? I like you, but you have to engage your brain before you fire off stupid crap like this. Once again, I felt like it was factual information. Indeed, even if my comment were limited to the time frame you chose, your referenced site would not constitute the rebuttal you think. I have 2 siblings who went to Auburn. Don't let them down. Try harder. I will not. Am not. No. Not going to do it. Not going to try harder. Not on that. Don't need to. When we come back, though, some assistance with the Alabama rushing attack and bad box score of the day. Next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Nick Freitas is a husband, father, Green Beret combat veteran, and defender of liberty per his Instagram page. And has marriage advice for some via his Instagram. In an interview that he had with Ken Coleman, he posts a clip from that. Someone shared this with me a couple days ago. Not 100% sure of the why. I feel like mine's pretty healthy, but maybe you thought I needed some help. Play the original first, John. This is Nick Freitas on a healthy marriage and his advice for it.
I'm going to live life and then I'm going to settle down and get married. Dude, you don't know what marriage is about. And you are setting yourself up for failure because you are looking at this as ideas. I'm going to build this. I'm going to add her to it. No, I wanted to build my life with my wife.
That's right.
And the other thing that was great about this is that my wife married me when I was just potential and not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot of potential, but she saw something in me.
Yeah.
We know what it is to have our power turned off because we couldn't afford the electricity, to be poor, to be away from family, to have no support network, to have to lean into God and lean into each other for everything, to be able to go through war, through deployments, through you name it.
Mm-hmm.
We have been through it. The most beautiful thing about that at the end of the day is if we lost it all tomorrow, I know she'd be there.
Yeah.
If you have this attitude.
All right, so I think actually he was referencing back when my wife and I were talking about my professional journey a couple episodes on our podcast that we do. But nonetheless, I got this interesting timing like yesterday and thought to myself at the conversation today, this is exactly what we're talking about. And y'all are probably thinking, why are you playing marriage advice for us on the show? This is a sports show. You're right, it is. However, Nick Freitas is heading in the perfect direction here to explain to you Alabama's rushing attack woes. John, if you will.
If you have this attitude where it's, I'm going to
Run the ball.
and then I'm going to settle down and get married, dude, you don't know what
Run game.
is about, and you are setting yourself up for failure because you are looking at this as ideas. I'm going to build this. I'm going to add her
Rushing attack.
to it. No, I wanted to build my life with.
Running the ball.
That's right.
And the other thing that was great about this is that my wife married me when I was,
Running the ball.
and not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot of,
Running the ball.
but she saw something in me.
Yeah.
We know what it is to have our power turned off because we couldn't afford
Run game.
to be poor, to be away from family, to have no support network, to have to lean into
Rushing attack.
and lean into
Running the ball.
for everything, to be able to go through war, through
Rushing attack.
through you name it.
Mm-hmm.
We have been through it. The most beautiful thing about that at the end of the day is
Run the ball.
tomorrow, I know she'd be there.
So there you go.
She would be
Perfect.
there.
If you choose Nick Freitas's path to running the ball, it needs dedication, it needs time, it needs commitment. And even if a game or a quarter or a series, it goes away from you, you know what? It's always still going to be there. You can always turn around and hand that ball off again.
Yeah.
You can always toss that ball to the running back. Now, we don't recommend jet sweeps and that you judge the run game on that. However, if you were to run a duo or a counter or a power or an inside zone or a toss sweep, it never truly goes away. But as Nick said, you got to be committed to it first. If you think you're just going to go through life living this bachelor life and then all of a sudden say, I want to be married to the run game tomorrow. It doesn't work
It
that
don't
way.
work like that.
No.
It's not how it goes. You need commitment.
Yeah.
And in order to have that partner next to you that when it does go away for a while, you know deep down it's always there to turn back to, you need commitment to it.
See, that's why when Chris called earlier, we laughed at should they incorporate some air raid concepts? No, you can't just.
No.
He's
Be
trying to
running
live
this
that
off-
Mormon life.
No,
That's what he's trying to
no,
do.
No,
And that's not where it is.
sister
for
lives
run
just
game.
don't work here.
No, it's not it. All right?
No.
Run game is not an open marriage.
No,
No, absolutely not.
pineapples are straight up.
You got to be committed to it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it will always be there for you.
Yes.
And now, so I asked the question again: has Alabama lived that life?
Mm-mm.
Has Alabama taken Nick Freitas's advice on the run game?
They're feeling like ludicrous a little bit.
Nah,
Different area codes.
Yeah.
just they're having them some fun,
They are.
and their fun is really good. They have good receivers. They have good quarterback.
Right.
They have good, talented players to distribute the football to, tight ends, but they hadn't necessarily settled down just yet. And they may not have to.
Right.
They may live that Leonardo DiCaprio life forever and ever and ever and be wealthy and attractive and popular. But Leo's got a lot of wins.
Correct.
He's probably got trophies, like literal trophies. I'm talking like hardware.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Grammys.
Checks,
Emmys.
posters,
Yeah.
covers
Tonys.
of magazines,
Tonys.
things. It's a good life to live. A lot of people would say, I want that life.
That's the air raid, though. It's the glitz and glamour.
But he doesn't have a run game.
Nope. Nobody wants to do the hard work.
When Leo tears his ACL, who's coming over to help him after he has surgery? Who's he leaning on?
Slide protection.
Well, he's
DM
F,
slide
if that's the case.
Sliding that
His
love to
trophies
nobody.
His trophies are going to be on the ground broken, if that's the case, because they're getting knocked down.
You know, there were parents back in saying, back in my day, we were running the ball. Look, Derrick Henry.
Right.
Kids these days don't want to run the ball.
No.
No.
Ask Blake Shapen about slide protection.
It's been a long one.
Our point is, you got to live that life if that's what you want to be.
It ain't for everybody.
So, Nick Frihas, thank you for the advice, by the way.
Damien's running the ball
Damien
now.
put all that together, and here we are, looking for our loved ones, our significant